So, last week we managed to get in a lobster breakfast in Sydney, but we didn't actually manage to get started on the legendary Cabot Trail. Well, this is it. Time to ride the Cabot Trail. Remember, up until this point, the ride from Sydney was a little less than inspiring. We opted not to take the Englishtown ferry and decided to do a longer loop that runs down around St. Anne's Provincial Park. And now, we're actually riding the trail. Right away, we get some twisties and amazing runs alongside the water. Much of this so far has elements that make you feel like you're on a racetrack, well-banked turns with good visibility, followed by nice straightaways. We're starting to see why motorcycles and finely tuned cars love this route so much. We continue to ride north about 100 kilometers to our lunch destination, the Chowder House in Neils Harbor, where we continue with our goal of lobster for every meal.
Good, how are you? I'm Jeff. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So we're riding the Cabot Trail and we're trying to eat lobster all day.
All day?
Anything on the menu?
The lobster sandwich.
Okay, lobster sandwich. 2 meals.
We're in Neils Harbor at the Chowder House. This restaurant has been up and running since the 70s. It's owned right now by the Victoria Co-op Fishery, so that's how we get our steady supply of fresh seafood. It's mostly so special because of where it's located. We have a beautiful landscape out there. We have the lighthouse in view. You're welcome to take your food outside and eat on the picnic tables, out on the cliffs. It's really special. It's usually a line out the door until about 3:30 or 4 o'clock. I think it's just because the food's so great here.
Yeah, that's us.
Here you are.
Fantastic. Looks delicious.
Hope you guys enjoy.
Thanks.
A quick visit to the quintessential lighthouse, which actually is also home to an ice cream shop, and we're back on the road. Our route from here now heads west around the top of the Cape Breton Highlands National Park. The views on this portion of the ride aren't spectacular, and there's no shortage of traffic at this time of year, but the roads are good and the changes in elevation make for some fun riding. About 15 kilometers in, you'll find the XTR gas station. Important to note that this is the last chance for gas until Chetty Camp, so if you're running low, it's a good time to stop. Now we're off for a 70-kilometer run towards our dinner destination. Looking at the map, this is shaping up to be a good run through the national park and then along the coast, except being summer, it was also the season of construction, which meant gravel roads and lots of traffic. This part wasn't so great. But we got through it, and when we did, now we find ourselves on the most iconic part of the Cabot Trail. A quick stop with a one-of-a-kind view that gives you that moment where you think, I can't wait to ride this. And ride it we did. We were a little early for our dinner, so we stopped in at Chetty Camp, where I decided it was time to learn a little more about the lobster industry. We wandered around the piers until we found Brian, who agreed to enlighten us on how lobsters are caught. We've all seen the traps, but do you know how they work? We needed to ask.
I'm Brian Harris. I'm the captain of Wat Makokaway 2.
Which is just over there. Now we've been eating so much lobster, we thought we'd stop and find out how lobster is actually caught. Now, you have a lobster boat?
Yes, I do.
The season's over, but I want you to explain to me how a trap works.
We'll set these spots off there. They usually sit in the water for about 24 hours. This is where we'll put the bait bags, the bait over there. So the lobster usually goes in through there and it'll trap itself in there, in the prison. In 24 hours, we'll go back, bring all our gear, rebait it, reset our traps. Basically the way that the lobster fishing goes.
Now, how many lobsters could this hold?
As many as 20, 30 lobsters in one pot.
Wow.
Usually the fishermen will leave probably around 4:30 in the morning. Go off and all the gear until you're all done mauling your 50 lines that you have out there. So once you're done, Some people are in by 10 o'clock, some by noon, some by 5. All depends. Fish buyers over there, they'll buy your lobsters. Then you go on the very next day, do the same thing over and over for 50 days of fishing.
Was it a good season for you guys?
Yes, it was.
Good season?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Now, armed with the knowledge of how lobsters are caught, it was off to a one-of-a-kind seaside dining experience.
How's the water? It's a little cold.
Stay tuned for a meal that you can only find in the Maritimes.